So, did you guys on CFA? I sent it. Do you have one open? A big account open? So you just left the financial institution blank? Mine's been closed.
You just put the one that you had.
Just a committee, not a big account. What do you think the reason I was gonna check the bonus for maybe the campaign reimbursement salary. Did you see that? Is your campaign reimbursement or salary reimbursement? I know you could do that. Some of the big dollars.
What? Enjoying your break still? Alex needs some help on the floor.
Mike?
It's been a rough
Each one's a different TIF area.
Well, they're all different tippers.
Okay, that's.
They're all different TIF areas. I just want everybody to be aware of that. They're not gonna be getting
I'll get any money back. Keep your fingers crossed.
We still have 4 minutes. So open it here.
Like we're all here to support the sheriff.
Is it the sheriff or the chief deputy you're supporting?
How do you like coming into it?
Where you at? Okay. We're good. You got Florida, right? Fort Lauderdale. Sorry, my daughter decided that I can go full Fort water. I had to knock it out. So that roots up there are retired. I needed it to improve. And then my hearing is broke because of it. And it's like, the guys who come to these restaurants, I'm sorry, we're taking my voice. It's not working.
It's in there. It's in there.
That's all right. I'll make it appreciate
I always want to come home. Just asking, everybody signed in, right? Okay. Sometimes people forget.
How's the library coming along? Still looking good?
Really?
They did not get their local grant. She said, let me know they're on pause for a minute. She just talked to me today.
Now they've been having a program, you can't go for a few weeks. Having the programs elsewhere.
You ready? Okay, well, let's open the meeting of the DuBois County Council and start with the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
everyone's here tonight, so we have a forum. I'll start out here with the approval of the minutes of May 19th that were sent out to us. Is there any additions or corrections? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of May 19th.
I'll make a motion to approve.
So we have a motion, can we have a second?
Second.
Alex has seconded, so all in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? We'll- So Sheriff Klein Eller isn't here, so are you?
Yes, I'm
You're here to
second his
represent him?
Yes.
Okay. So are you ready?
Yes. Good afternoon, my name is Chief Deputy Monarch, Lewis County Sheriff's Office. I'll try to make this quick. For some reason, unknown reason, it appears that we forgot to put 2 of our jail officers, moving from probationary jail officers to jail officers in the budget for 2025. There should be no need to add money to their line items, as there should be plenty since jail officers are all listed together. We just need your approval for a salary amendment, essentially, to change that. Also, as we have new sergeant recently promoted, Eric Hopkins, who was promoted to the position of a road patrol sergeant. There will be a 14-day period for the remainder of this year that will be short in his line item, totaling $2,175.60.
So is that, or how did that, I guess my only question is, on the sergeant, was that something that you didn't anticipate or we didn't anticipate?
It's always been in there for whatever reason. I don't know, when we did the 2025 budget, it was just not on there. I'm sure it was an oversight, correct. It's always been in our budget in the past, and that line item in itself for a patrol sergeant, but for whatever reason, it was left out for the 2025 budget.
I think the position was there, they just didn't have it as a sergeant.
Correct.
They-
Which it's not a new position that we created, a new title. The title has always been there. I don't know why
Just
it
had
was.
him as a lower deputy than a sergeant.
Correct.
And that's what you budgeted it as, was the deputy and not the sergeant, even though there was a sergeant position.
Available, correct. So it's not a new created one, it has always been there, but for some reason, we didn't budget the money for that sergeant position for 2025.
Well, I just think maybe in the future that maybe the council would be aware of that prior to, because we had to push this to get it advertised, because it has to be advertised in the paper and all that stuff. So I guess in the future, it would be nice to have the council have a heads up before that gets promoted.
Correct, we didn't know it was gonna be an issue until we went in for the money, because again, if that position has been there for years and years and years, you would think that the next year that money would also be in there for that, but for whatever reason, that was a clerical mistake or something, that money wasn't there, but it's not something you created, it's always been in there. There's just an oversight that for whatever reason, we didn't see the money appropriated for that vacant position.
Okay, all right, well, thank you. So is there what he's requesting, or do we have any questions or comments for Jesus?
I would just mirror that. It's, a simple email. Here's what we're doing, just updating us. So everyone's acknowledged, and moving forward, whenever we have change of position like that, we gotta pull the money out of the general fund. I think it's just a simple heads up. It's really all, so we're all aware. Just moving forward, I think with communication would be great.
Absolutely.
So,
Now, the sergeant pay would be an additional $155.40 per pay. And I think there was 14 pays. So the additional money we need is $2,176.
Okay, so let's, anyone got any questions? Otherwise, let's, anyone want to make a motion to approve that $2,176?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that.
So Doug has made a motion and we have a second. Further discussion? Otherwise, all in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? Okay. And then you have the jailers then, I guess.
So then you gotta do the salary amendments.
Okay,
We're gonna amend the salary of the sergeant from $2,511.67 bi-weekly to $2,667.07 bi-weekly.
any discussion on that?
Like I
Otherwise,
said, this would start June 1st, go retro to June 1st, and it would be for 14 pay periods.
okay. So, hearing no discussion, I'll entertain a motion to approve that bi-weekly salary of $2,667.07.
I move.
Okay, Dina has made a motion,
I'll second.
Meredith has seconded. Further discussion? Otherwise, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
And then the jailer salary ordinance needs to be raised to $1,929.86 bi-weekly. And they won't get this until their first anniversary, which one of them is started in November and the other one started in December. So we're only talking 2 pay periods or 1 pay period.
Okay.
So that's why he doesn't need additional funding. He has enough.
We have the money, we just need it amended, right?
Yes.
Hearing the discussion, further discussion or comments? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to approve that bi-weekly salary for the two jailers of $1,929.86 per
I'll make that
bi-weekly.
motion.
Okay, Sonia has made a motion. I have a second.
I'll second.
Brian has seconded. So further discussion? Otherwise, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Do you have anything else tonight?
Yes, I also wanted to see if we could allocate an additional $8,000 from firearms training into the firearms training. So here a few months ago, I asked you to move money into the firearms training, and I was gonna wait till next year to make a big purchase for ammunition and everything. Company reached out and I sent in what I needed. They gave me a quote, and if I make the buy now versus waiting till next year from a different vendor, we'd be saving $2,500.
Okay.
And to me, that's a lot of money. So I'd rather do it now, especially with what's going on nationally. First thing that goes up, aside from gas, is ammo, just because there's a shortage or anything. So I'd like that appropriation rather quickly so I can order it and continue to get these prices before they increase any higher.
Okay, well, thank you for the explanation.
What fund does that come from?
It's a firearms training, it's from gun permits, that kind of thing. It can only be used for firearms training, ammo,
Ammunition,
guns,
weapons.
vests, things.
Is this, are you gonna do brass or steel? Well,
Both. I think on the ones that we got to qualify, like training ones, we're doing brass, and the ones that are duty ammo, that was gonna be steel.
okay.
So in this purchase will last us for the next 5-6 years.
Yeah, I think there's sufficient funds in there. I checked that, so even that firearms.
Correct.
So,
But how does that work with the handgun permits since we don't have those many in?
State gives us, they subsidize that with a one-time payment a year. It's not as much as what it used to be. That's why I'm very careful about using that fund and only whenever we need to. But the state does give us money for that fund.
okay. Any other questions for Jesus on that? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion?
Okay, Doug has made a motion. Second.
Second.
Alex is seconded. Further discussion? Otherwise, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you for explaining that too, so. Because I kept thinking,
Update, Jeremy, you were gonna ask me, so we had a deputy that was involved in a crash. It wasn't his fault, it was the other driver's fault. Dealing with insurance right now. I believe our vehicle's gonna be totaled. Again, the insurance company is still awaiting their final okay to take essentially fault of it. Clear as day, the other driver was cited, it was at fault, he crossed in front of our officer, and our officer couldn't do nothing but T-bone it. So we are one police vehicle down right now. He was finally hurt, he's doing better, he's back to work, so if you see a vehicle back in the back, that's where we have it. Once the insurance company says that they're gonna take fault for it, write us a check, then we're gonna have a decommission, pull as much parts as we can out of it, meaning sirens, lights, and anything like that. Laptop was damaged in the process of that as well. So,
He had insurance,
yes.
hopefully.
Yes, that's one of the things that they're checking. There's an issue with, now they're seeing whether his insurance was valid or not at the time. In my eyes, they're trying to find everything and anything, because I just got one of the quotes today and it's over $20,000. So I'm thinking they're just gonna total the vehicle. Just a quick update.
Thank you.
Jesus, what did you guys think about that? If you send someone out to training, pay for it, and they leave within 3 years, that we can get reimbursed for that? I mean, that's a pretty good gig.
Yes, so as of July 1st, that's gonna keep essentially a lot of departments from poaching from other departments, which can still be done, but now we would be responsible for paying. So let's say here, we just send a deputy after July 1st to the police academy. A year later, another agency comes in and hires them, then they have a duty to let us know that, hey, we're gonna hire your guy. So at that point, it puts us on notice that we got 30 days to send them a bill, which would be a bill for salary, training, equipment, anything we invested in that officer, the municipality would be.
Salaries in that?
So I believe it's gonna protect us from other agencies poaching officers and everything, especially when you invest, because again, you invest a lot of time and money in the first year of an officer before you let him go out on the road on his own. and everything.
That's happened in the past, hasn't it?
So what?
That's happened in the past, that we've had officers trained and within a few years,
They're gone.
they're gone.
So now immediately, I think the first year is 100%, second year goes down to 60, third year 30, something like that. Don't quote me on the percentages, but up until the third year, we can charge another agency for that.
Good.
Hopefully it helps us out. But a lot of our deputies are loyal to our department. I know other departments have asked them to come over to them, and we're still loyal to the county, so.
Thank you.
Guys got anything else?
Any other questions for citizens? Is that all you had?
Yep, that's all I have.
Well, thank you.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
See ya.
Okay, I guess next on the agenda, Property Rights Alliance, Mark.
Yeah, actually, we have Roger Hunt here to present you with a proposed resolution.
Okay.
I have copies here for each of you if you'd like. And then afterwards, we're here to answer any questions
Okay.
you might have. And I have some information packets that I'll pass out to you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well, good afternoon. I appreciate the opportunity to address the council. What I have is a proposal for a council resolution for them to adopt at their discretion. And if I can read this to you, I'd appreciate it.
Yes, I would appreciate it if you would for the public also. So,
Okay. This is to the DuBois County Council, State of Indiana. Council Resolution number 062325-1. It's a resolution opposing the Mid-States Corridor project. Whereas multiple studies since the 1980s have found a new terrain highway through DuBois County economically and environmentally unfeasible. Whereas Governor Holcomb announced on June the 11th of 2021, a $75 million appropriation for improvements to the existing US Highway 231 in DuBois County. Whereas public meetings since April 2022 have revealed an overwhelming majority of those attending are opposed to the Mid-States Corridor project, citing concerns of homeowner displacement, loss of productive farmland and forest, environmental damage, reduced tax revenue, and unaccountable economic growth. Whereas over 10,000 county residents signatures have been collected against the project, and strong opposition continues to grow throughout Du Bois County communities. Whereas claims of future economic benefits by project proponents lack factual support and are based solely on speculation and biased forecasts with no credible metric or independent studies to support those claims. Whereas the council believes improvements to US 231 are sufficient as outlined in 2021, funding should be allocated to maintaining existing roads and bridges under current county jurisdiction only. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Du Bois County Council opposes the Mid-States Corridor project, will not support eminent domain or additional tax funding requests for the project, and will prioritize protecting county residents, farmlands, homesteads, and the environment from this burdensome new terrain highway project. Adopted, if you would, this day of June 23rd, 2025. And I've listed each of you, if you care to sign it, I have a pen. Thank you.
So does anyone else?
Can I
want
take
to
a second to pass out some information to you?
Sure.
This background information that we have put together over time that we've shared with other public people.
Thank you. Are you going to touch on this? Touch on this publicly here?
I don't think we need to. It's just for you guys to read the stuff. So what might be beneficial, if I could interject, is before maybe we ask them, you know, if you have questions to ask us, we'd like to offer if Colton has something that he wants to present, have him go first.
Did you?
I wasn't planning to speak today, I
Okay.
just truly wasn't, just wanted to be here to
Okay.
be here with
Didn't
you all the
know, so-
information, but I appreciate it.
I guess I'm gonna start out with first, you know, I got a lot of, and I think probably all of us did, I got a lot of letters from different landowners and citizens. I appreciate that. I think it was a well-written, very respective to our position here, you know, what we have to do. But I appreciate that. You know, and I think it was a lot of points were outlined in the letters, at least that I received. And you know, I appreciate doing that. So, I don't know, I'll open it up to the council here to make any questions or comments they want to make.
I'll make, Mark, I said it at the last meeting that, I've gone on record multiple times over the years with opposing the route that they're choosing and anything. I was always supportive of improving 231, which my understanding was originally their preferred method of going through Du Bois County. And it did make a change, it seemed like. So, and since then, I haven't been supportive of that, that route or that method of going through Du Bois County. Yeah, so I stand with that, I still do. And I appreciate it, like I said, the respectfulness in those letters was something I noted and appreciated, and just stating if you support this or if you don't support this, you shouldn't, or if you believe this, then you shouldn't be supporting the Mid-State Corridor. So I also received probably about 4 or 5 different letters. So and a lot of that I agree with. So Standing with what I've said in passing.
Yeah, and I'll say, we live in a representative democracy, and I hear from the opposition, a 10-to-1 ratio against, so whether I'm for or against it, which I don't like how the process went, I have to listen to my constituents. The president, I hear from them a lot.
Anyone else have any comments? Otherwise, I can say, I don't feel I don't feel as a council president that I want to, bring this letter to a vote tonight. I think we need to study it. I think there's a lot of information I'd still like to gather, and I think we're all open to, if anyone else has anything to say, I think it's, I think we all take this serious. We're in a position here, we don't have if it goes or not, it's really not our decision. I think if they come and request money or funds to do different things, like I think the commissioners decided to not possibly take over the 231 existing at this point, but I mean, if that would have happened, then, then it would fall on our shoulders, because that's gonna be a big expense to take that over. So, I think with them not taking it over at this time, and maybe looking at possibly doing it at the end of if this thing is built, then we would, then we would be forced to take it over, I suppose. But I think in the interim here, I mean, I just don't want to, I just don't think we have the financial wherewithal to do something like that as a county.
Mark, if I could say something, so the purpose of getting you all the information and everything is so that you know more of the facts. The one thing I will say in regards to, we understand, we totally understand that you guys don't have a vote, for, whether it goes, but you do have the power as the council, as other councils and the commissioners to be able to voice your opposition to it. And the one example I always give is there's another highway project, similar, not quite as disruptive and long as this, that was taking place in southeast Indiana. It's called the Link 101 project. And that was going forward until the constituents brought up all of the information and the facts of the type of destruction that'll take place, and that there really is no need for it. And then at that point in time, they presented it to the council, and the council agreed with them. And then it was State Senator, I can never remember her, Lansing, what? Jean Lansing, who came and talked to both groups about it. And, she made the determination based on the number of people, the number of residents throughout the county that were opposed to it. And she went back up to the governor to say that she wanted it stopped. That was one of when Governor Holcomb allocated $475 million, and it was for 3 projects. Ours was 231 was $75 million, and I don't remember how much it was for the Link 101 project, but that was one of the other projects. And again, got once they determined that it wouldn't do what they said it was going to do, and that people were opposed to it throughout the county, Switzerland County, I believe it was, that it got dropped. So just wanted to share that.
There's one other thing I'd like to say,
Sure.
that all of the so-called justification for the mid-states quarter centers around a report or a study that was done by a company called Hunden Partners, and they're located in Chicago. I know they have offices in other parts of the country, but it's a marketing firm. They're not a research agency. It's a marketing firm. And they made outrageous claims like Du Bois County would double their population in 1 year, or excuse me, in 10 years after the road was built, which we all know that that's just an outrageous claim. The whole idea of this road, constantly, the other side is saying that it's a need. Yet they have yet to prove that this is a need. This is truly just a want. And if the state is going to take personal property, they need to prove that it's a need and not just a want. And right now, the whole theory of this is based on basically a lie. That's what it is. Hunden Partners is the source of their data that they claim is what this thing is, why it's needed. And it's not. It is a company, it is a marketing firm. And that's all it is.
Thank you.
Mike and everybody, hi. Bob Pfister, and we will be disrupted by this road. Someone from Du Bois Drone had came to the commissioners meeting and said we had no connectivity here for a county this size. Totally inaccurate. Part of I-64 is in Du Bois County. We have I-69 within 15 miles of our western border. It's not like we're sitting out here in the boondocks. For what we will all lose, all of us, 6 and 7 generations on the land, it isn't worth it. We're not going to dry up and die without this road. The chances are we will die up and dry if this road happens. And that's all I have to say. It's good to see all of you. All right?
Thank you.
I have a question for you, Mark.
Yeah.
Do you have a uniform response for the property rights alliance on if you think any improvements should be done to 231 or just maintain the existing road? Because I've seen different things. Because me personally, I think there's some sections that are dangerous. I'd like to see shoulders widen, from Lagodi to Hayesville. I've almost been hit head on there. So I'm not going to say that I wouldn't like to see the road improved in some form. I just didn't know if you guys had a set thing, because I've seen in articles that you kind of agree with it. I didn't know what you said.
So we've always said that we are in favor of the improvements that Governor Holcomb announced along 231 through, I think it was Du Bois and Martin County. That included areas of passing lanes. It included, and I never saw any of the actual details of what intersections, but it included improvements on intersections, widening of some areas there, but along the existing used 231. We've always said, we feel that is the perfect solution.
That's what I thought. I just didn't know for sure what you guys, or if there was anything you proposed in your group.
Alex, I believe all of us want improvements to 231.
Yes.
But we don't think the Hank and Mike Expressway is the answer to the problem, all right? But we all believe in improvements to 231.
It'll be far less costly.
You want to introduce yourself? You're welcome to.
My name is Tom Bartels. I own a farm, South Huntingburg, just north of the airport. Road 231 runs directly through the property. If the state wanted to talk to me about widening the road, I would talk to them about that. In fact, they just recently purchased some land for us. They're planning on redoing the bridge, and they wanted to widen the shoulder near the bridge. We did not have a problem with that. What they want to do is run a 4-lane highway diagonally from the farm that's been in my family since 1851. I have a problem with that.
Well, thank you for your comment.
Thanks, Tom.
Anyone else want to say anything?
We would like to cordially invite any and all of you who want to come to our Property Rights Alliance meetings to come. We're having another one this Thursday at 7 p.m. at the Schnitzbach Restaurant in Jasper. Christy Risk, who is the constituent Relations Director for Lieutenant Governor Micah Beckwith plans to be there. She is trying to learn as much as she can also about this wildly destructive project. For one, Micah Beckwith in March presented Hoosier Homestead Awards to Tom Martell, to the Voglers, to the Newhoffs, for having farms that were 100+ years in the same generation, or the same family for generations, 150+. And for the state to recognize these farms, and there are many, many homestead farms along this corridor that will be plowed under. The state on one hand says, you guys are great passing this down from generation to generation and keeping it a productive farm. And then on the other hand saying, nope, we're gonna cut it into pieces. You're not gonna be able to farm, you're not gonna be able to pass it on to future generations. And it makes no sense whatsoever. So we cordially invite you to come Thursday night. We have meetings every 2 weeks, generally at 7 p.m. at the Schnitzelbank, and you're cordially invited to come and to learn as much as you can.
Come early because it gets crowded.
Yeah, very crowded.
Standing room only a lot of times.
Well, thanks for the input too. Anyone else want to say anything? Does anyone on the council want to say anything else? Like I said, I think at this point, I don't want to push a motion here or force a motion to sign this. I think we need to do more research. I want to look at the.
Even if you want to, I have to put it in our standard format and number it with our number, and this isn't our.
Okay.
No, that's my creation.
I think we all need to.
I'm just saying, I have to put it in our standard format.
Please,
Let's do that.
and that's what another council has done that.
Mike, we just asked you to look this over, look over the information, look over the people affected, and we're just a fraction of them. Just a small fraction. I mean, are we going to put a road through every section of the county? We're going to disrupt everything that made us such a great place. When we have connectivity so close. Thanks for your open mind, you guys. You're a beautiful bunch.
We appreciate your work.
So you said another council adopted or didn't adopt it, but they rewrote it. Are you
No,
gonna,
we presented a resolution.
you've been presenting it, are
They
you gonna follow up?
put it in their official format. They haven't acted on it yet, but they put it in their,
That's what I was wondering, if you're gonna follow up with the people you
yes,
presented.
we are.
Yes.
Yeah, I would also like to add that if any of the council members would like to come out and actually see the damage this road will cause. I mean, looking at it on one paper, it doesn't look that bad. You see what it's going to actually do, that is something else. You really need to go out and see what this road is going to do.
And
And I would invite you to come out to my farm anytime, and I would be glad to show you around.
I'll volunteer Mr. Pfister's farm, and he'll give you a really nice tour.
I will take any time, day or night, for any of you. I'd love to take you around. Ryan borders the Trent Farm, and it will tear through us, and all the memories of generations will be gone. The tree farm will be gone, and it will never come back again. Thanks, guys.
They're gonna come through. They're receiving letters. They're gonna go through at night. They're gonna look for bats. It's sad that INDOT thinks bats are more important than people. It's really sad.
So is this part of the study they're doing now in the tier 2
Exactly. So
study?
they let them know that they're gonna come on their land at night. They'll have spotlights and they'll spend the night on these farms looking for bats.
Putting up nets.
Are they gonna do anything with Indian artifacts? Because you can't even build a grain bin without having to have a search done.
There's supposed to be, but we don't know.
Alex, I've been looking for Indian mounds last year.
You wanna find one.
Mark, do you have contacts for each of the individuals here, the phone number or email to reach out more?
I
Just
do.
using you as a contact since you're on the agenda.
Yeah,
I
I have a list of
Yes,
Would be nice.
it's got it. We can
Or if
have-
someone doesn't like starting one and leaving them today even, or something.
So if I put it on the sign-in sheet too.
So Meredith, are you just interested in those that are here today?
At the start, maybe.
Okay,
Yeah, how does that sound?
and I'll have to make sure I have your email address and I'll send it to you.
Sure. It should be, I think, on the county website. Or do we?
No, it's just a
a
phone number.
Is it just a phone number?
Yeah.
You're right.
I have.
But I'd be happy to leave
Okay.
that though. No, I think that you all make a good point though, in terms of coming to see something firsthand. I mean, I don't know if it's just me being map challenged, I think sometimes, but it really does make a greater impact whenever you see things firsthand. I think it's always been one of the issues that I've had in terms of the project, and I've never publicly said for or against. I mean, I suppose there's some amount of room, in the middle for consideration, of needing to make improvements, but then also trying to, consider all of the different, pieces of information, I guess. One of the parts that I have a hard time with is signing on to anything when I don't even know where access points might be or how, that might affect folks in terms of safety or, getting, I live, about 8 miles, towards Celestine. I don't know how that might affect rescue services coming to my home. There's definitely a concern there for sure. Can understand that. And I don't know that they've ever really proposed whether any of those points would be, ground level, if there'd be an overpass. That could be something that would maybe change my view on something. I'll have teenage drivers myself at that time, or young drivers, and
And what
There's a
they'll
great
tell
deal
you
of
at
concern.
this time is that's what the study is for, that they're continuing to do.
Can I make one more comment?
Sure.
I listened in on an RDA meeting, and it was probably about 2 years ago, and Mark Schroeder, is he the president?
Yes.
of The RDA, he got up and he commented, he said, we need this road or our county's gonna die. And in the next breath, he was like, if we don't have this road, we are going to be gridlocked from Sunset Drive in Huntingburg to the north of Jasper. So he contradicted himself. I said, I'm sorry, but you can't have it both ways. We're either gonna die or we're gonna be so overpopulated that we're gonna be. You can't have it both ways. If that makes any sense to you all.
Thank you. That's good.
And that brings up another thing, in the study, the research that was done about the effects of a bypass were limited, like to nothing. All you have to do is look at any medium or large city, even smaller towns in Indiana, and you can find out the destruction that a bypass causes. I've brought this up time and time again because this is where I'm from, near the Kokomo area. Kokomo built a bypass off of 31, and they built another one, and they built another one, and they built another one. And each time they do that, it adds to the destruction of the city. That happens it's happened in Lafayette, it's happened in Richmond. We drive around the circle of Indianapolis, and that's a perfect example. South Bend has also had a problem. A bypass kills your city. It kills the center part of it. And then it spreads out further and further, and then another bypass will be built to get around that destruction that they've caused. Everywhere there's been a bypass, the town dies in that area because you're cutting off a specific area that people utilize. So if that bypass comes, Huntingburg's 4th Street's gonna dry up, and so will the square here in Jasper, and all the restaurants and everything that's out there on 231. A bypass kills a town. Mark has evidence of that, all the research and studies that he does. It will kill farms, but no one really talks about a whole lot about how much it will kill the businesses in the town. And there's examples of it all over Indiana, but yet this group not once brought up any comparison or any studies or any research based on towns that this has caused. I mean, all you have to do is go to Terre Haute, drive into Kokomo about it. I just had to go down to Evansville, it's awful, for that very reason.
And maybe you've not had a lot of folks come in and talk to you, maybe you have, and I know you've received some letters, but you will definitely have them come in and talk to you when their road gets shut off and when they're dead ends. And you can tell the folks in Spencer County where all the dead ends came. And you might say, well, I never went on that road, but when you wanted to go on that road, it's not there any longer, there's no crossing. And dead ends is a big deal on this. And that affects the quality of life immensely, not only today, but every day thereafter. All right?
And like what Meredith said, that you have to have service, you be able to get services.
Now, if you go around Davies County, I mean, from I-69, I got a lot of people I deal with there. There's at least 20. I mean, they probably cut 10% of the roads, or less. The main drags have got it. And one other thing I would say to you guys is, some people say, well, this is futile, this is in vain for either people for or against to come to our meetings. But when the Ileana corridor was being contested 10 to 15 years ago, the Lake County Council passed resolutions, as did the commissioners, for or against, but they didn't want the road. But I think it's good, like Mike said earlier, that you guys correspond with us, and I hear from you, and it helps us make a consideration on these decisions. So I appreciate anybody that reaches out, it helps form our judgment.
Sorry, I would like to add just one more thing to Teresa's Square and 4th Street. I was one of them that went and asked people and got signatures. The people on 4th Street in Huntingburg do not want this road. The people around this square, the business around the square, do not want this road. They may not tell you, but they've told me they do not want this road because they're afraid of what it will do to their shops.
Is it 10,000 signatures just Du Bois County, or is that combined?
Right.
It's 10,000 for Du Bois County. The actual number is over 12,000 signatures. That doesn't cut. So in the very beginning, when they were doing their 5 things, there was some residents from Orange County that signed the petition because there was still, consideration for going through that way. And I know that there was over 1,000 or so that were from Martin County. Those weren't included when we talk about 10,000 for Du Bois.
And we got 100% of those probably during COVID.
During
Like when
COVID.
it first came out, we had masks on and
It's an old petition.
we were going it is an old petition. If we could start all over and get more, we'd probably have 20,000. But we don't know, we can't go back to people because we don't know who we got and who we don't want duplicates.
Yeah, because we purged, at the time, we purged them to make sure we didn't have duplicates at that time too.
One other thing, if you read the draft Tier 2 study that they came out with, to find out what the county needed, they talked to the 8 largest businesses in the county. They did not talk to small businesses, they did not talk to farmers, they did not talk to citizens. They only care about the 8 largest companies in the county.
Someone else had their hand up.
Yes, Meredith had brought up about where they are gonna have intersections. I don't know if you've ever been out to the Lockmuller's website, midstatescorridor.com. They have their Tier 2 information out there. They've got their 6 alternatives as far as where access points will be. And it's very confusing how they have the legend for those maps. They've got a green check mark where there's going to be access, whether it be a J-turn, whether it be an actual cloverleaf type intersection, it's probably gonna be a J-turn. But only those that have a green check mark are gonna be the access points. You see crossing and you think, oh, to me, that means a crossroad. No, that means the road will cross over or cross under the existing road. There will be no access. And then you have the roads with the red and white slash. Those are the roads that are gonna be cut off and dead-ended. So when you look at their maps, don't look at them thinking, oh, well, we can get on here, we can get on here, we can get on here. No, Jasper has only 3 access points. One is going to be on the Snellville Road, one is gonna be on the Celestine Highway, way out, and one is gonna be at 500 North or above. So the traffic through Jasper is still gonna have to travel through Jasper. The trucks going to and from the existing businesses in and around Jasper are gonna have to take 231 to get to the interstate, or the Mid-States corridor. It's gonna have to go out the Celestine Highway, it's gonna have to go out the Snellville Road just to get to those access points. So be sure to look at those plans where they've got those access points, and don't be sucked into thinking a crossing means you can get on. It's not a crossroad, it's gonna cross over or cross under the existing road.
Meredith, to give you a perspective, if you go to Celestin, what you just said, you go to Celestin, you will pass Hooterville and you will pass Trainer Lane. Trainer Lane, and you've probably seen me on Facebook, Trainer Lane is, will no longer be accessible for me. So where it will cross will be just a little past that, so it gives you a little perspective. But, I don't know how I'm gonna get to my farm ever again. They're gonna make a road for me, but where, no one knows.
Well, thank
I have my grandson, I gotta get him to soccer camp.
you. Anybody
That's
else?
important.
Thanks.
Anyone else for or against?
Thank you, Mark.
I'll make one comment or to address your safety concerns with these limited accesses. The local, fire departments and ambulance services, who knows what routes they're going to have to take because they can't cross or have those side roads that we currently have that can get them there in the shortest amount of time. There's going to be a lot in the county that won't be getting there in the shortest amount of time. And on top of that, I was just seeing our state has proposed eliminating some of the county or local governments, including the fire districts and things like that. And they're going to try to put it onto the county dispatch or county emergency, I guess, management would take over all the fire districts, and I assume that would be first responders, ambulances. So where's that gonna go? I don't know, but it would tie into this safety aspect. And in the tier 1 study, one of the priorities to look at of the study was safety, either crossing the road or eliminating accidents on the current highway. And studies show that accidents of the main where may be reduced in total number, but the numbers of accidents that are still there are much more severe and much more fatalities because of the higher speeds. So with the tier 2 study, they eliminated safety access as a priority of their design.
Because it wasn't safer.
So as they seem to dig in and find more of the gritty details, they don't like it, so they drop it. But it's still gonna be there. The safety issues, no longer a priority, which it should be.
Thank you.
Well, thank you all for coming, and does anyone else? So
I appreciate the discussion and the civility, that's all.
Yes.
That's all.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for listening so attentively and so genuine.
appreciate it. Yeah, appreciate you all coming.
Thank you all.
Do we want to, let's try.
Adjourned. So let's thank you again.
Take care. Just, then we'll, when she gets back, we'll go on with the additional appropriations, the rest of.
Especially since they're dinner. The only one. I think that's it, but, okay. She's the only one who disappeared. Sure. Go ahead.
How are you?
I'm good, you?
It's just Pam and her last name. Oh, wait.
No, she's got a
No,
middle
sorry,
initial.
yeah,
We always have our first initial, second, middle initial,
Yeah.
last name.
Wrong, Meredith.
We think Emma.
Am I, overall?
Yeah, hoping to get your email address.
Yeah, sure, give me to write it down, because I need to see her.
I'll scribble it. Just M-I, no periods or anything.
M-I, and then VOEGERL at DuBoisCounty.org.
Okay, now, is that abbreviated in some way? No, it's
Yes.
also that, Du Bois County, and then Du Bois County, no dots in between, and then .org.
Correct.
So,
You're welcome.
under the additional appropriations that, yes, we want to go on with, the electrical panel under lit.
Yes. Okay, under the lit CR tax, Stuart Wilson was in a few times in previous meetings talking about this electrical panel moving it. We have an additional for $5,500.
That was the generator, power monitor.
Yes.
I think we discussed that pretty thoroughly last month. So anyone else got any comments there or wanna, otherwise I'll entertain
Just is what it
a
is.
motion to approve that $5,500 out of lit CR.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, I'll second, I'll give me a motion, second from Ryan. Further discussion, otherwise all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
In the general fund, we need more money for building insurance, vehicle and liabilities. I have $15,000.
Does that, curiosity, does that, do they, or how did that come about? I mean, do they send a bill?
Anytime people get a new vehicle, anytime they, I think one time we didn't have it's not tornado, it's not flood. It's some kind of insurance policy that we did not have, earthquake.
Okay.
We did not have that in the original. Now they had it in March instead of in February when all of our other ones were new. So, and then we've got cyber that comes due in May, so some of those we just didn't have and they're raised their rates.
Okay, thank you. I don't remember the hurt.
I don't know, Mom. Oh, the additional 15,000.
Any further discussion on the insurance, additional liability insurance? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to approve the $15,000.
Make a motion.
Brian has made a motion, I have a second.
that.
Meredith seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? In the county.
County 4D incentive. We have found through our new vendor Malcon, when he does our cost allocation plan, which takes it's not your, it's your cost like your, building square footage with the heating and the air and indirect costs.
Okay.
They have told us we could use this county incentive fund that we don't only get to use very often. So we're gonna start budgeting it out of that fund versus the general fund in the future. So you'll see a new budget line item for this for 26. But I thought, why not start using it in 25? Since we're so limited on what we could do with that child support 40 money.
So are you saying we can pay utilities and,
No, this is the indirect cost of for the plan that tells us the indirect costs of it. They calculate and then we get money back from the 4D government for those costs. But to do the plan, we're allowed to use the 4D money,
they do the
the
development?
cost allocation plan, and that costs us $5,000
Okay,
Is that every year?
every year. But we want them to do it because they save us and give us a lot more in return.
So we don't budget for that ahead of time?
Well, we were
Since
budgeting
don't
it
know
out of
what's-
the general fund in the commissioners.
Yeah.
And instead of using that, let's use this fund that is so limited and so narrow that what we can do.
It can only be used for what?
It can only be used for child support and it's a percentage of child support stuff. But this cost allocation plan is 100% for child support, so we can use the whole thing.
Makes
So
sense.
there's no issue with the fund,
Or the fund's got money in it.
there's no, it's not gonna dry up at all.
No, it has money that we
Yeah,
just
nothing.
can't find purposes to use it that are solely for child support.
Sounds good. So any other question on that?
Sounds great. I'll make a motion to approve the 5,000.
I'll second.
The first and second for the discussion. Otherwise, all in favor, say aye. Anyone opposed? That's
The commissioners have had a couple of unsafe dilapidated buildings, one of which they've assessed a fine. And in assessing that fine, we learned we have to set up an unsafe building fund to hold that fine. And per IC code 36-7-9-14 tells us how to set it up, what we can use for it. And I'm just wanting to make sure you're okay with me setting that up.
What can we use it for, a rough overview?
It kind of, I can show you this, kind of tells you, the enforcement of it, the cleanup of it, if we have to go in and clean it up, it's gonna take a while to build it up.
Yeah, it's not gonna grow much, huh?
So you wanna see this, you're welcome to.
Any other question, have we just started, it seems like we're, every commission meeting now, there's not, subject gets brought up, but have we ever in the past enforced anything, like the cities and towns have their code officers that they use to enforce them, but is this just kind of at the discretion of the commissioners and now we have to set a fund up because they're actually implementing fines?
Well, the reason they implemented the fine is because the gentleman's not cooperating.
They do voice.
They gave him time, he passed the time, so now they're issuing the fine. And if he doesn't come back to the next meeting, then I don't know what's the next, I mean, they may say, we're gonna tear down this building, and then we gotta pay for it.
But the health department acts as that overseer.
The health department's part of
In
it,
lieu of a
yes.
code officer or,
But since this fund is just now getting implemented, that means it's never really collected before. That's the way
But
I'm
we've not had to in the past.
Okay, makes more sense.
on that same token, you know, like people that they find throwing trash, throwing their names in the bag. where
That's
does that-
trash court, that's separate.
We've collected on that in the past.
Trash court is when the solid waste management goes out, and then they're fined through trash court, that goes to the general fund. Because you're reimbursing for the expenses of Carlos group when they go out.
Okay.
So the trash court's a different ordinance than the property maintenance.
It seems like this money's just gonna sit in this fund forever. And we can't put it anywhere else that it can be
Well, it
used.
goes by that statute.
But we may be able to use it sometimes, because I think that even at Duval, well, they clean that up, some of it
Well,
off the road and stuff.
if-
like the
If
county.
they would clean it up, it would cost us, I think it was a $500 fine. If we would clean it up, maybe we can use $500 of it before we use our.
Now, my understanding would be that we put a lien against this property. Is that correct?
If we have to tear it down, then I think you can put it on the tax roll.
so how much do we have to put into this fund?
The
You don't have to put
$500 that we're
anything into it.
gonna
I'm just opening it up,
Opening it up.
so when he pays his fine, we have a fund to
But
put
it
it.
seems like we have to open it up
They
to collect,
assessed it,
to collect it either way, so I don't know.
Right, she's found a mistake.
Yeah, we gotta follow the state code. I'll get there later.
Okay, so do we need a motion to do that, or just
Um,
consensus?
Whatever you wanna do, but I'm putting in the minutes that we're opening this fund, and we're following state
So
code.
let's just vote on it, if that's
Yeah,
okay. Yeah,
that makes sense.
So opening the
Unsafe building fund.
unsafe building fund, so I'll entertain a motion to.
I'll make that motion.
Okay,
And I'll second the motion.
and Dana has seconded, so for the discussion, otherwise all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Yeah, sometimes these codes are,
That money's gonna be sitting there 20 years from now.
these now, there's other funds like that. We have one that has $1,500 in it from I don't know when. We just talked about it today at work.
Go look up the minutes of the vote that day.
And then the next thing, ordinance 2025-05. It's every year the recorder has to give you an affidavit saying that she is not gonna use all of her perpetuation fund. Here's her affidavit, and then we pass the budget so we can use some of her money in the budgeting process.
And she used quite a bit of money out of this fund to buy new furniture for her office. The recorder did.
And didn't she help some other offices out of this fund? Or?
No, I think she just did.
She just does her office.
I think she can only spend in that. I mean,
I think she
The
used
clerk
it in the
is-
past for the door and for the carpet and that, but it's all for her office.
So, anyone got any questions on this kind of yearly thing, so. So I'll entertain a motion, to approve that ordinance 2025-05. Dina has made a motion, I have a second. Meredith seconded, so further discussion. Otherwise, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? We all need to sign it there.
If you wanna see the unsafe building ordinance that we have, here it is. Go put that up in the hand, Jim.
I think I looked it
There's a lot of
up.
statutes there.
So just, I think, did you have anything else? So just for the public here, we had, I think all six of us at least attended the, State Board of Accounts 2024 year audit and went to the exit conference. So I think that all went well. I mean, there was a couple issues and, we can't publicly discuss them until, it comes out to the public in a couple weeks. So just want to let the public know that it did get completed and move on from there. So I think we've got a couple, I think we got Senator Schmidt here tonight and he would like to possibly address.
That's awesome.
If you would, I think we're at we got some other things to talk about a little later here, but just.
It's whatever works in your
No, I think if you've got a chance, there, again, 4 of us attended the AIC.
Can I come up now? How's that what you're saying?
Yes, come on up and introduce yourself and. Yeah,
Hello,
appreciate
everyone. Bill Schmidt. I think I know this stuff pretty well. I miss you guys actually. May I approach and give you some information? Okay. I was planning on coming up here and then actually whenever I heard about the Mid-States Corridor meeting, I jumped in, hit 445, went home, jumped in the shower because I wanted to hear that as well. First one here is a handout with, it's talking about, is that a 4-page or a 2-page? That's my copy. It's got all 6 guys on it, I'm sorry.
That's got the real numbers on it.
Yeah, you're getting the fake numbers now. So what these are is there was a ton of confusion all over, all entities, all around the district. So a couple of weeks ago, we started, did somebody miss one? Did everybody get one?
I got
one. Saying. There was a ton of confusion. There's an extra one here, give one, there you go. Is that me? There you go. Anyway, did everybody get a copy then?
Yes.
Okay, there's been a ton of confusion, on the budget, on Senate Enrolled Act 1, where it ended up. So what we did is that's the latest version of the printouts of revenues, 2025 through 28 projections. The first column will be your, what 2025 was. If you go back on wherever the second page, like the county, and you can look up top, 25 through 28. The 25 is the actual in the first set of columns. So then the second, that would have been pre-changes. And then the second set of columns, which are actually your numbers are going to be. So if you want to look at the bottom of the first page there, Du Bois County, 10,121,000. That's what 2025 was. This is all related to property tax under Enrolled Act 1. Then the next 3 columns, 6 through 8, would have been if we would have not made any changes. Okay.
if Senate Enrolled Act 1 wouldn't have happened. Those would have been with the MLGQ of 4% rolling forward, okay? Now, if you go over to the second column, those will be at 26 through 28 estimated net levy under Senate Enrolled Act 1. Those are the projected revenue numbers for those 3 years, okay? Then the third set of columns, if you go down in 2026, basically it's showing Du Bois County's revenue from 2025 to 2026 will increase $8,600, 8636, okay? So there's been a lot of confusion about reductions, and there's gonna be millions of dollars of losses of each of the local entities and units. The number that they're using is unrealized potential gain if there would have not been a Senate Enrolled Act 1. If we would have continued on with the MLGAQ of 4%, you know, and it would have been up and you'd have had this curve. Well, what's happened now with a lot of the property tax deductions, 2026 is going to roughly be flat from 2025, okay? So instead of this curve, if you drop 2026, you drop that curve down, okay? So then if you look for the first year, you're going to show a $8,636 increase for 2026 over 25. And then in 2027, you see the $352,000. Okay, so then if you go to the far right column, it's just broken down in percentages of increase of revenue. Okay.
Daryl, question on that.
Shoot.
Is that based on the income, the local income tax on a max?
This is the property tax.
This is just property tax. So this
is the effects of Senate Enrolled 1 and the property taxes that are going to be happening, okay?
So when we read this is only what we're missing out with the reduction of the property tax.
Yes, if you were going to, like, exactly, yeah, because if you were to look, we would have continued with the same increases, the revenue would have been $10,657,000 for 2026, okay? Now it's going to be the $10,129,000. So the difference in there, what you're seeing a lot of people talking about, the difference between the $10,657,000 and 129, some people are projecting that as a loss. It's a loss of unrealized gain, but it's not a loss. So it's a shrinking of the revenue moving forward.
Could you speak to the council, and I caught a little bit on the phone, but going from levy-based system to the way it's going.
This is, and yes, and that's kind of tied with this. In the other paper that I gave you, there was so much confusion on Senate Enrolled Act 1 and the long-term process. So I worked with staff at Indianapolis, and we created this document that you have here. And it's going to go, we're getting the list together. It was supposed to go out Friday, but I think it'll go out today or tomorrow to council presidents, mayors, and everybody. They'll get an unprinted version of this. It's easier to print out on an email. But this here, if you look through this is basically talking all potential changes in Senate Enrolled Act 1. And a lot of this that you're looking here won't take effect. You know, some of it as late as 2031. So I like to look at it. It's basically a goal of going from a levy-based system to a rate-based system, okay? And there's a lot of pieces and parts of this that people are concerned about, but ultimately when this shakes out, you know, the goal is like by 2031, you know, there was talk about trying to reduce assessed valuations of people, but you can't really do that because I believe it's the St. John's Act. So the assessed value is what it is based off of the formulas, okay? So right now we have a 1% group, which are basically homes, your residences, and your homestead credits, okay? Then you have the 2% group, which is basically apartments, land, and 3% are corporates, okay? As we change over and some of these deductions go away that we're getting, or they're changing, like veterans and some people, they're concerned because their deductions are shrinking, but it's not really the deductions aren't shrinking, it's gonna be a net gain. It's going from a deduction to a credit on a lot of them, you'll see. So it'll actually be a net tax savings for them. But then as this moves over time, like the residentials, let's just say if you've got a home that's valued at whatever, pick your poison, $150,000, just for easy math, okay? Ultimately, time we get to 2031, you'll basically, if your assessed valuation's $150,000, the homeowners, the 1%ers, will basically get a 2/3 deduction of your assessed value. And you'll pay assessed valuation on roughly 1/3 of the value of your home, okay?
then the 2%, your land, rentals, they'll roughly get a 1/3 deduction. And they'll pay property taxes based on 2/3 of the assessed valuation. Where then the corporations and stuff will pay property taxes on the full assessed value. The idea is to simplify. We have one of the most complicated tax systems in the country, Indiana does. So the goal is to simplify the system, make it transparent where we can understand it and see it, moving decisions to the local level where we can be more effective, making decisions, instead of some far off place where we can hopefully make decisions. So this is all, this is a process. There's gonna probably be some bumps in the road. And that's why I'm here, and that's why we created this document, just to help everybody, understand. I'm gonna be here, I'm gonna be in Oakland City tomorrow night, Wednesday. We're gonna have a talk with the towns in Spencer County, just going over Senator Old Act 1 and trying to help everybody understand what's happening. But it should be a good thing moving forward, as we're doing it, but there could be a few bumps and hiccups as we move along the way. And the business personal property taxes, as those go away, as those are going away, the extra no deductions on corporate, that's supposed to balance out as we get to that. It's a transition in here. And I like to look at it, with the property tax deduction or the property tax reductions that we've had, the public was clamoring for property tax deductions, because of all the increases, okay? Also, the idea was not to hamstring local governments, I voted for Senator Old Act 1, I caught a lot of heck for it, but I chose to be involved and to try to make it the best possible will we could to work for everyone moving forward. But as we move forward, and as we're moving more control to the local level, the idea was, let's right-size government a little bit, let's look for efficiencies where we can, but we have the lid if we need to, breaking that out where municipalities and counties have the options to do that on their own, okay, where we can fine-tune it, and if there are bumps in the road where they can do that. But if you look at it from the point of view, the state income tax has been going down for a number of years. I have not had anything to do with it. This is just Daryl, the individual observer, looking. But as state income taxes are going down, if we have to use local income taxes to balance it out, it's not necessarily that we're raising taxes at the local level. I look at it more, we're shifting that to a local income tax and taking it away from the state, and gives us the opportunity as local governments then to do a better job with it. So that, if you have any questions, but look through this pamphlet. It talks about the lit, municipal lit, how everything's tied together. But tried to solve a lot of problems with it. And if there's some unforeseen things that we have to adjust in the next session, that's what we'll work towards. Any questions? I know I talk real fast and a lot, but I don't want to take up much of your time, but I just wanted to come and give you this information to digest. And if you have further questions, call and ask.
So our levy could increase by 4% in 2026?
Yes.
And then it's froze from there on?
Yes.
That's what I understand.
But these are the latest numbers that came out last week on.
And do you think this, your second column here?
Yes.
Do you think that includes a 4%?
Yes, and yes, and this also, if you look up there on top, Senator Old Act 1 and House and Old Act 1427. I don't know if your versions were different. I know this is the most updated. I know the Ames version maybe is a little bit different than what this is, but I've been assured this is the most current version that we have.
Because the other one I had, and I probably have it here, but it was close to 600,000
Deduction.
a loss.
Minus 600.
Yeah, I mean, the one.
But if you look at that, what you were probably looking at was the one with unrealized potential gain. Okay, because let's just look, if you would take before Senator Old Act 1, if you go your first set of numbers,
Yes.
and you go to 26, that would be 10,657,000. Okay, and then if you go the second set of columns, which is 10,129,000. Okay, which is what actually is, so roughly if you take the 657 minus the 129, that's only what is that, 528,000. So, that could be in just as a change moving forward, but a lot of those numbers that you were seeing as a loss was the unrealized potential growth if we would have kept everything the same. That makes sense.
So what happens when you have a TIF district thrown in here, or
Okay,
an abatement, or?
okay, that is one thing. Everything, and that's where people are gonna probably, there's gonna be people surprised or people upset. But if you're in a TIF district right now currently, and your property taxes, if it's your business personal property tax or whatever it is within a TIF district, you're not gonna get the deductions until those property tax revenues have been used to secure the bonds. So until that bond is paid for, then that stuff can fall off. Like the business personal property tax at 30% floor, that won't go away. If you're in, this does not apply to anything within a TIF district at this point.
Probably no. I was reading about the business personal property taxes for farms. A lot of the exempt now, the way I understand.
What it is, we're at 80,000, there's an $80,000, if your business personal property tax subject to that is $80,000 or less, you're not subject to it now, okay? That will stay at 80,000 in 2026. In 2027, that'll go to $2 million, okay? Now, if you're above so if you're below that, then you will not be subjected to that. And the goal is to actually promote small businesses and help smaller companies. If you're 2 million or up, then you're gonna be paying that business personal property tax starting at $1, and that will stay.
I understand so a county like this where there's a lot that are gonna be exempted now, where is that, how do you make these revenue projections when you don't have that revenue anymore? That's a lot of revenue.
It is. Well, that's why I'm trying to bring these through and come up with reality. Yes.
So this is all factored into this?
Yes, business personal property tax is figured into this. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's all figured in. If you look up at the top, that top row, it'll tell you exactly everything that's supposed to be included. But my understanding, the business personal is included in this. So there's a lot of things, and it will, to be transparent, which I don't know any other way to be, but there will be certain counties that are affected more than others with this. It's not gonna affect everybody the same.
So just so I can, when we go forward talking about employee raises and budget projections, I just wanna make sure that we're on the same page. You said we'll maybe increase by $8,000, so it's a wash for the amount of money the county is gonna receive.
Yes, for everything.
So we would have to stay the same or cut some costs somewhere for us to be able to justify a raise for the county employees to sneak that in, right?
Yeah, you're gonna, yes.
I just wanna be sure because that's how I'm basing that decision. I wanna give the county employees a raise, but if we don't have the money, I wanna know that off these projections.
Well, and I've got 8 months' experience in the position I am in, but the goal, the way I understand the idea, so some of this started before I was there, right? But the idea is to make sure we're right-sizing government, or make sure we're responsibly spending money. One of the concerns at the state level is there's $54 billion worth of debt held at the local level. They were concerned that we could get ourselves in trouble at the local level. So the idea was to make it a focus where we all are aware of that, give everyone an opportunity to try to create efficiencies, and then give you opportunities, to, if you are running super efficient, then you can balance it out. Property taxes aren't going to totally go away. This is sterile speaking, my personal opinion. That's going to be the base load, if you will, of it. But now the lids are going to be used to kind of balance and fill out the gaps.
You have colleagues who promote getting rid of the state income tax?
I'm sorry?
You ever heard about getting rid of the state income tax?
Yeah, there's a plan. It's been over the last, I don't even know, 6-8 years that it's continually, been shrinking. So I like to look at that as, people are looking about replacement. We're talking, are we gonna, well, if we're losing our property taxes low, we got to find some replacement revenue. Well, that's not the idea. The idea is to look for efficiencies, right-size government a little bit. People are clamoring for property tax relief. So the idea is to do that and then use the lid if we have to. So I look at it like, not to use local income tax as a replacement, but use that to fill the gaps. And there is a fundamental shift, and if people embrace the idea, and this is just me, look, no one's ever told me, you know, we're lowering state income taxes and we're gonna have to raise it at the local level. You know, it looks like, that just looks common sense to me. If we're lowering that here, and now if we have to do that here, that's just pulling more control for us. So some of this is what I've learned up there, some of it's, you know, my personal opinion.
Just so I understand you correctly, you said you think property taxes will be about the same next year, roughly, the bill?
2/3 of homeowners are expected to see a cut, but yes, a decrease. How much and how significant, I don't know. There was a lot of numbers out there early on with Senate Rollback 1, you know, what it was gonna be. Personally, I think that there's gonna be a modest deduction in property taxes, just like there's a modest shrinking of revenue, right? You're still showing a gain as a local entity, you know, so obviously they weren't that drastic. The potential revenue that you could have got is smaller. But, so, will everybody be unhappy at the end of the day? Very possibly. People that wanted more property taxes deducted are gonna not be happy. You know, local governments aren't happy because they're having to tighten their belt a little bit. So maybe we're where we need to be. That's just me personally speaking.
Daryl, tell me more about this property tax transparency, the portal that's supposed to be.
That is still up for discussion. Anybody that has input or ideas, actually, I think I can get back to you. I think there's a place to, for input from local governments to what they want that to look like. Okay, there's an ag portal that I was a part of, creating just for anything related to ag, as far as permitting through natural resources or IDEM or all those things. There's a lot of confusion out here in the ag community, so there's being an ag portal created, and they're soliciting input right now for that, and I think it's the same way with this portal. It's just so, the whole idea is to become more friendly to use, right? You know, government's kind of government, and you know, you just kind of, we lowered our expectations so much that you expect to wait on the phone for an hour, or you just, you know what I mean? We've lowered our expectations so much. We're working on changing that. Or at least that's, you know, that's one of my focus, and a lot of the people's focus. And we, you know, us as taxpayers, we're the customers of the government, you know, so we need to work towards that. That's my opinion.
I think I agree with you on the property tax will never go away, because it, you know, when the economy slows down, income tax is gonna slow down, and sales tax is gonna, and those are one of the three legs of the stool, you know.
Exactly.
So if you don't have property tax as a stability, you know, you're gonna, you know, we could put ourselves in a bind as a state.
You're 100% right. Whenever you guys paid enough attention, whenever we were a week from closing out the budget and the April revenue forecast came out, and we're like, oh, you know, and there was about $400 to $500 million cushion put in the budget in case the projections came out worse. Projections came out $2.3 billion worse than anticipated. So, well, you know what I mean? So we had to, you know, that's when there was a lot of changes, and a lot of people are unhappy because the state has to have a balanced budget, right? We can't borrow. So, but anyway, looking at those numbers, you know, of the state revenue, there was, you know, you had your sales tax and all the different taxes. The one that was significant, everything else was kind of within the range. Corporate income tax, in other words, revenue pulled in from corporations because of profitability, was down 25.9%. That was an income tax. At this point, the low individual income taxes, they hadn't changed dramatically yet, but so, you know, it tells you that the corporations, and you can see looking at places, there's a lot of things sitting on lots that used to be bare and empty, right? So that was one, and that just goes to your point, the income tax is not quite as stable. So yes, property is more stable. Sorry, I didn't mean to take up a bunch of your time, but it's important. There's been so many questions and things going on.
This is great.
And if you,
Yeah,
you know, I guess the only thing I want to say is, you know, we put a lot of work in, and I'm not talking about the health, you know, pushing for the health department, but I think Health First Indiana, I think that was a mistake in my opinion.
Did that get cut though towards the end with the with the $1 billion? Then they had to pull back more.
Yes.
Was that 100?
That was,
Down to 40.
that hurt that more, yes. I think it's unfortunate too. You know, we came out and we promised all that money, and then all of a sudden the rug got pulled out. this is my personal opinion, maybe I'll get, hot arrows thrown at me or whatever, but as a state in years past, we might have, I don't even know how to say things without getting in trouble, but anyway, so I'm a little unpolished, but I believe a lot of the COVID dollars and all those things that came out, I believe we were guilty as a state also. We wanted to do the right thing as a state, and, when that money's coming down from the federal level, okay, and here's what we tried to do. Now, what I will say, you guys are probably a little bit different than a lot. I guess I didn't mean to be rude, never turn around and talk to you guys either, but as counties across the state of Indiana, that money that went out the first time on Health First In, what was it? Was it 400 million, roughly, as the state of Indiana? Take a guess how much of that money from 2024 has not been spent yet.
They said it at our conference on Saturday.
47% was
Yeah.
spent.
Almost 50% of the money that was given out of that 450 million was not spent yet. Okay, so if we take, that's 200 roughly, so you say 225 million, that's still setting at the local level. So if we take and go from 450 to 150 and there's still 200 some sitting there, we're still at 350 million. So that was what they looked at as a state. Now, having said that, Sean Werner, and those guys out there, I'm gonna guess half of that wasn't sitting there unused. But as a state, that was one thing that was
It's hard to get something initiated and moving and
Yeah.
get the money
So,
spent.
and there were other places that they were struggling to find places to spend money, and maybe it wasn't spent wisely. How about that?
It's just a comment.
No, you're right, I agree, and I want the comments. You guys all have my cell phone number, reach out. I don't have all the answers, I'm
Is
just
the
trying to help.
DLC gonna cut money too on our grants for community corrections? I thought he said that was getting cut as well.
I can't speak to that, I'm just being honest with you. I don't know. I don't
left
know
him
that.
speechless.
That's
I don't know
first.
on that. I will look and get back with you. You know what, I didn't, and this is all funny, but when you have a kid the first time, you really don't get an owner's manual, you don't know what you're doing. I really didn't get an owner's manual either, when I went up there in January, so, but I will look at that and see what
I'm
that
just
is.
curious.
I don't know that.
Sue's a 2-year-old got her Dolly Parton book last week, so something's making that work still. I got a legitimate question, kind of in reference to tonight. I don't want to throw you a big hardball, but we're efficient, we're saving money. How do we who funds this road? Where is the state budget finding money for this multi-billion-dollar road? I want to know. I really did.
I know, that's a question I'd like to answer too. I do not know.
Are we gonna toll 70-year-old interstates to pay for it? I mean, how does this work?
There are talks about, tolling, and that was one of, that came through one bill giving authorization for that. One of the latest, like I say, other than being just straight up and honest, I don't know how to be, but that's so. I-70 is a potential one of them. There's a lot of talks, and you guys think about it. You've been across that road. It is in miserable shape, but yes, it's dangerous. There's a ton of analysis. Everybody familiar, right? I-70 just coming through Terre Haute, rolling through. There's numerous studies done that are saying the majority of the people from other states are just flying through, okay? And not stopping, not getting gas, not doing nothing, right, other than using. So us as taxpayers, we're paying for it. So one of the possibilities is to toll 70. They're working on making an exemption for residents. I don't know how that would look, but that's one of the things that are being discussed now, So there's a lot of things, and there was actually something that we were talking about earlier. They were talking about the mid-states, possible things. There's all elimination of a lot of different governments and units. There's bills and stuff being thrown around all the time. I don't know where it's gonna end up, but tolling I-70 is a possibility, but exempting local people.
And can you work with NDOT to try to get us the best deal for the county to take over the road if we have to?
I will do my best to advocate for us at the local level.
Because honestly, I don't know.
No, you're right.
From what I see of the road and what I'm seeing proposed and what I hear from the workers, if we do have to take it over and they build this road, I think we could be in the hole from the get-go, Daryl.
My personal perception would be I pretty well probably would agree with you, okay? I don't know, I don't have those answers, but I will work to advocate for us here locally, you know.
That's what's nice about you being from the community, you understand intimately what we're dealing with.
That's why I chose to do this. It wasn't because it was easy.
And I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
No, you're good, I don't mind, I love the question, I don't take any offense to it. Those are questions that I've had that I'm asking, I don't have all the answers yet on them, but that's stuff that, and that's what I want you guys to do and everybody to do here, we have to advocate for yourselves, you know. My wife said one time, you know, if you don't advocate for yourself and your kids, who's going to? So, you know, we have to advocate for ourselves.
Well, thank you for doing this, putting this.
Hey, do you have any other questions after you look through that pamphlet? You know, feel free to call, and if I don't know it, I'll find the answers for you. I
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're welcome, miss you guys.
We miss
Fun to
Did
be
you
back.
that, Lynn?
Fun to be back.
We miss you, you said.
There. All right, thank you.
Take care.
Thanks for coming.
The other thing I forgot to say here, we discussed, the council budget preparation and the meetings. That's on Wednesday, August 13th at 8 a.m. So just so everybody's got that proper, correct. Because we talked about Tuesday.
Right.
And we moved that to Wednesday. So otherwise, I'll open the floor up here if anyone wants to say anything that's going on, if they visited or attended meetings, or I guess say you want to discuss how we hit Indianapolis there, so.
Yeah, we, Meredith, Mike and Ryan and I, were at Carmel and attended the meeting. Well, Mike and I attended one on Friday afternoon and then the main meeting on Saturday, trying to get some information. But Daryl, we definitely appreciate the information you gave us today. I think that's gonna be very helpful.
So you're welcome.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of confusion, and I thought, you know what, let's try to come up with something that we can, and if nothing else, that's gonna facilitate more questions, things for you to look at that we can maybe head off at the pass before you get too far in the budget process.
It's a lot all at once, you know.
It is, it's a lot.
Yeah.
But just remember, we'll meet in session again in January, and I think it's very intentional that some of this stuff doesn't take effect until 2027.
Then why did you rush through all the other stuff?
I-
That affects my office.
Well, I told them, don't be easy
You
on the
told us you'd
auditors.
make things easier.
Well, and it was said that, you know, not everything's set in stone, that there's still a lot.
I wonder how much change we might.
These are a lot, this is a big, in my opinion, this is a big undertaking, I can't take all the credit, all the blame. There have been study committees going on for a number of years. You know, they started after the 2023 session with a lot of these study committees, trying to increase transparency, to simplify our system and, you know, all of those adjectives. But so it's gonna take a while to get from the levy to the rate based. So there'll be some bumps. So this is kind of a process that we'll have to work through, and we can make changes. You know, if you guys see things that are really crazy and we're like, oh, we didn't see that one coming, but we'll react.
This Representative Jeff Thompson was there, you know, he spoke.
Was he there?
Yeah, he was really,
He's a sharp individual.
yeah, he was pretty,
He's good stuff.
he made me feel good for a while until the next, you know.
He's one of the main architects of all these
Yeah,
changes.
he speaks from the heart.
He does, he's good stuff.
And I did share, everyone that didn't attend, a copy of that, what we went through on that, it was very good, so.
I think one thing to point, I don't have the flyers or the things, but the commissary fund, that was a House bill. Just some changes that will come up on our end as well, which I thought were kind of interesting, more reports, was it
Quarterly now instead of.
quarterly reports and the mandating, labeling what it was for, one of the 1 through 9s.
1 through 10.
1 through 10 now, so that was addressed a little, so
I think
that was
I
good.
think the senator was on one of those committees, what I see.
Yes, I think the training is great. I think that's an awesome idea. So was happy to see a little bit of that. That was my big take from there as opposed to all these bills, taxes. It's good.
Do you have anything, Dana, that you wanna?
Several of us attended the Patoka Lake watershed, tours and, excellent tour of the water plant facility, and then also a little bit more about the dam, and the lake is at such a high level. So we got some very good information on how that's handled, how that water feeds into Jasper, and where the river levels will fall. And from Patoka Lake to Jasper, there's very little down river. It's pretty level, which I didn't know. So any adjustments at Patoka Lake takes 24 hours for it to get to Jasper.
That makes sense now, okay.
Yeah.
And how far that water goes, I mean, it goes to the Wabash. They service water all the way to the Wabash. That's pretty impressive, their reach, so it's really a neat tour.
Do you have anything else?
That's all I got.
I don't,
Not much, been pretty quiet.
Doug?
I got a meeting right after this, the 911, so
Okay, so you have nothing.
nothing new.
Okay, well, thanks. Does anyone else have anything? The next meeting is July 28th at 4:30. And we'll be starting our budget interviews with a few individual departments. So does,
Cool is coming, then, and so is tourism, I've got them on that agenda.
is there any other public comment?
I'm
Thanks again.
starting to schedule your budget review days, so,
I mean, this
Don't
is,
forget to put lunch.
yeah.
And it doesn't need to be
It's on here.
but you know, we will have to video this whole thing, so it's gonna be a long day.
Is that a new
We're getting
law
the
for the
sections.
video?
It starts on January 1, yep. I mean, July 1, I'm sorry.
We may have to break it into sections to make it not so
All
long.
video.
Yeah.
Have a little break or something, in
Yeah.
between or something.
start and stop it, so there's a beginning and end for each.
There's the new owl we bought, so.
And I think I'm going cross-eyed because you're split. That's
Oh.
right in my way. So I'm scooting over closer to Ryan in order to.
The only thing I can do is move it this way a little bit more, but,
I still think we hang it upside down.
well, that's for you to figure
I'll
out.
get
Yeah, across the.
I'll get
Got
them out.
any power and all the rest of it.
Otherwise, do you have anything else?
No,
I don't think I do either. So,
you
appreciate
will
it.
not get the minutes within the next week. I am going on vacation, so it'll be probably 4th of July or whenever you get them.
Same trip.
All right.
Make a motion to adjourn?
Okay.
Second.
The first and second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Seconded.
Anyone opposed?
Doug.
I think Doug, we said it at the same time. I'll get it to you.
Close the meeting.
That's okay.